And welcome to the University Distinguished Lecture Series. My name is Shirley Rush. I'm the director of the BSW program at the University of Maine Presque Isle. I am most delighted to be able to introduce Miss Brigette, as she was known affectionately in Tanzania. But before I invite my colleague up to introduce her, I would just like to say, to describe Brigette in 3 words as I experienced her in Tanzania. She was courageous, she was competent, and she was compassionate. And I know that you will enjoy what she has to share with you tonight. So I will leave those details to her faculty advisor and supervisor. And in order to do that, I would like to introduce my colleague, Barb Blackstone, who is the chair of College of Professional Programs and Education. She is also the director of Athletic Training Education. Barb Blackstone.
Well, I am very honored to introduce Brigette Pratt to you tonight. Brigette is from Southwest Harbor, Maine. One of the things that Bridgette's known for on campus is being a 3-year starter and a 2-year captain of the basketball team. One of the things that really started to show Bridgette's qualities as a leader was when she earned the Rural Parks Award, which is given to sophomore basketball players who demonstrate leadership qualities. But the adventurous side of Brigette has taken her down to Tanzania to be the first student to take part in our newly developed clinical opportunity at Kilimanjaro Christian Medical Center in Moshi, Tanzania. And she will explain to you the host of things that she did with the hospital departments and the community-based organizations that she worked with. But this adventurous side of Brigette was Bridgette's first plane ride. The first time outside the United States, and of course her first time to Africa. And not many people would take their first adventure on a plane ride to Amsterdam from Boston, because you can't really turn back when you're on that kind of adventure. But Brigette didn't turn back at all, and she has taken this adventure to embrace her love for children and healthcare to a whole new level. And she will now share this life-changing adventure with you. So Brigette.
So this was a pretty big jump for me. I live in Southwest Harbor, so from Southwest Harbor to Tanzania, as you can see, is a long ways from home. I've never really been outside of the United States as well as New England. The furthest I've been is on basketball trips, which if you're an athlete, you know you go, you play your game, and you come home. There's not much time for exploring or anything like that. When this opportunity arose, a teacher came in and said, there's an opportunity to go to Africa for clinical experience. I instantly jumped on it and said, yep, I want to go. Many people ask me, why Africa? Why not just stay in the United States, stay in Maine? There's so many opportunities right here for athletic training students to do clinical hours and experiences right in Maine. But I have close family friends that have been to Kenya, which is right above Tanzania, and they really inspired me to go to Africa. They loved it there, and they did so much there, and it really got me thinking, I'm young, and I need to start doing something. So why not go to Africa? And not only go to Africa, but you get credit for it. It was also, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. My hope is that I will go back someday and see everybody that I met, but for right now, it's looking like it might be my only time to go. When I went over there, Shirley asked me, why else did you choose to go to Africa? and we really talked about it, and I realized I wanted to prove to my professors, my fellow student, and even to myself that it's not always about grades. That you don't have to be the best student to succeed and do something amazing, because I'm definitely not, I am not a good student most of the time. I don't get straight A's, but you know, it's not always the people who have the best grades that can handle certain situations. And I learned that on the basketball court as well. You don't have to be the best player to have the best leadership skills or anything like that. So I really wanted to go and do something big so I could prove to others as well as myself that it's not always about grades. So my first rotation, when I went over to Africa, 2 out of the 3 weeks that I was over there, I was at KCMC. With this hospital, there is a college right on site. I got to work with a lot of students while I was there, and they were all very sweet and kind, and they always wanted me to go to classes with them and always willing to help me out. I had a really good time talking with students and kind of learning how they learn things and how we learn things, and how a lot of it is exactly the same. This is the entrance to the hospital. This is where I went every morning. I walked down that hall, took a couple lefts and rights, and I ended up to the physiotherapy clinic. Not every day I was at physiotherapy, but for the most part I was in the physio department. But the other places I spent time in was the orthopedics, ICU, the surgical ward, the burn unit, and pediatric neuro. And then, so in the hospital, this is what every room looks like. You have a bunch of beds lined up. There's no privacy, and you can kind of see the mattresses are not what we get here in the United States. In order to raise or lower the beds, you have to put, there's none in this picture, but like cinder blocks underneath the legs of the beds to elevate them. So they use a lot of resources in order to keep their patients comfortable, or as comfortable as they can be. In this hospital, there is only 200 employees, and they get roughly 1,000 outpatients per day, and this is only outpatient. When I was in there, all the beds were filled, and as soon as you walked outside of the room, there was beds lined up all along the hallways, and those beds were completely filled. Not all of you will know what this is, but athletic training students, this is their combo machine. And they still use it. And it runs. It's quite, it looks ancient to us, but it works for them, and they know how to use it. They tried teaching me how, and there was too many knobs. So these guys were my preceptors for the 2 weeks that I was at KCMC. This was Oben. He worked in the physio department, and he showed me a few things in there. This is Hallelujah. He worked in the orthopedics. I spent my first full week with him, and it was a lot of fun. He worked with a lot of his students the week that I was there, so he handed me off to students and then would come back and check on me, but he was a lot of fun. And then this was Matthew. He's the head of the physio department, and he also worked with the senior students of physio department and other departments as well, and he worked a lot in like the ICU wards. And then that's John. He was my student representative. He made sure I felt comfortable. He came and checked on me every single day, made sure I knew where I was going, if I had any questions, if I needed anything at all. He was the guy I went to. We didn't get to spend a lot of time together because I was being jumped around from place to place, but we also, he asked me to do a presentation for him and his classmates and his professors on athletic training. So when I was over there, I also did a presentation for them, kind of telling them what athletic trainers do and how is it different from physiotherapy, because they're not used to athletic trainers. But as we both found out, we were very similar in the ways that we do things. On my last week, when I was in Africa, I went to CCBRT, and this is a community-based center where children and their families can go and get help. What this place does, it really works with children that have spina bifida, hydrocephalus, and clubfoot, and other life-altering disabilities. They work specifically on these disabilities in order to teach the families how to care for the child. They have, during clubfoot, they have a class every, I think it's about twice a month. They have a meeting about that where children with clubfoot can go in and get fitted for braces and things like that. For spina bifida and hydrocephalus, they meet twice a year. They families come around from all over the place. They meet at this one place. They're housed there, fed there and everything. And while they're there, they have classroom days where the parents learn how to care for the child, how to recognize signs if the child needs to go directly to a hospital or if it's something that can wait. They learn how to do catheters, and they do a lot of educating the families. Some other cool things that they do there, they also teach how to do, they call it a garden in a bag. They take a grain sack and they fill it up and they cut some holes in it and they grow a whole garden in this one sack. This is helpful for families that don't have a whole lot of space, that don't have a whole lot of money to grow a bunch of crops, and it's right there for them, and it's healthy food that they can feed themselves and their children. And then here's some, I didn't get a lot of pictures while I was over there because I was, busy working. I couldn't take a lot of pictures. I worked once with Shadrach in the PT area. He teaches parents how to perform certain exercises to help the child and gives them home exercises that they can do because, like I said, they only meet twice a year. And that's their PT room. I did home visits while I was there. The home visits, they go and check on children that were provided wheelchairs. And when they are given a chair, they're expected to keep it clean, to be using it, to making sure it stays right for the child. So what what they do is they send technicians out, and Neo, she's their OT-PT, there she is, and they go and check on the child, make sure the parents are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and the technicians will readjust the wheelchairs as the child grows. They have to fix things, or sometimes things get broken. So a couple of the houses we could not find. We had to go through corn mazes, and it was quite the adventure. Walking through narrow paths, trying to figure out where the heck these houses were. Because at one point you can see them from the road, and then they grow crops of whatever they grow at the time, and you can't see the house. So on one of the last houses we went to, we actually had to ask for help to find the house, and those children were the ones that led us the way. Before I get to that, when at CCBRT, one of the things that kind of made me think a little bit more about our culture compared to theirs was one of the biggest things that they stress when they're talking to the parents about their children is to let them know that it's not their fault that the child has a disability. Over there, if a child has a disability, most of the time they are tossed out because it's considered a curse to the family for whatever reason, and so many times the child is just kind of tossed away. What they do at CCBRT is they also educate them that it's nobody's fault. Sometimes males will blame the mothers, say you did something wrong during pregnancy or whatever, and blame the mothers. So they really let them know that it's nobody's fault, and things like this happen. And while we were there, we did a presentation and kind of reassured them that it does happen everywhere. It's not just there. And even with the best technology, it's not always caught. So they really appreciated that. But that was one big thing that I was like, wow, I'm glad that they're educating them on that it's nobody's fault. And it's not a curse, it just happens. So after I went to CCBRT for a couple days, I went back to KCMC for my last day. On my last day, I went to surgical ward, which was a different experience. I didn't actually see any surgeries, but I saw right after they came out. And the air is different in there. It was hard to kind of breathe at times, and I was glad to get out once we finally left. And I was with John at the time, and it was getting close to the time that I was leaving, so he asked me, any wards you haven't seen, anything you want to see? And I said, no, I think I've seen most of everything. It was okay. Well, I have to check on a couple patients. Do you want to go with me? Sure. Well, we go down the hall and we walk into a room. I was not given a warning or anything. And this is similar to what I saw. Sitting 3 beds in, there was a child who had these kind of burns on his face, and if you can imagine, his face was worse than this. I won't keep it on very long. Instantly, I could feel my stomach drop. Seeing anybody like that is hard to see, but a 2-year-old, it was very difficult to see. And of course, I had to walk right by him to go to the other thing, but he was up and he was moving, and he actually ended up playing soccer with a balloon, so he was in high spirits, but that was definitely a big eye-opener for me. And we had talked, after that I had talked to John and Hallelujah, and I kind of was like, why? I mean, I kind of have a feeling of why some of this happens, but why? And burns are one of the most popular things that they see at that hospital. One, there's open fires everywhere. That's how they cook. That's just how their lifestyle is. But also, that child ended up, what they think happened, because many times at the homes, all the children are watched by the oldest sibling or cousin or whoever is there. And if you can imagine, like 12 kids running around, because that's how it is. There's usually 12 or so kids running around. Can't watch all of them at once. Many times children will fall in the fire and not be able to be pulled out. That child in particular ended up having a seizure and fell into the fire. So when he finally got pulled out, and he's pretty lucky to be alive, he had mesh covering the top of his head and staples, making sure stuff stayed in place. But he ended up, one hand only had, I think, 2 fingers, and the other didn't have any at all. He was very lucky to be alive. But that's one of the most common things, and Shirley informed me not too long ago that they're building a whole new wing at KCMC just for burns. So, because the room that I went into was tiny. I think there was 6 beds total, and that was it for the burn unit. So, I was glad to hear that. But okay, not to end on a sad note. So, this is what they call a dollar. There are about 18 seats, and their motto, I guess you would call it, is that they're never full. So, up here is our dollar. So I need enough people to fill each of these seats. 18 students. Okay, now we'll keep adding more people in. Shirley?
We're not full.
You're not full.
Have to go in the back first.
Yep, have to go in the back. Next. You're all gonna have to sit. And I'm not lying. That's how it is. And there would be somebody
There's no space
here and here and here. Oh, and if a child comes in, they have to have a lap seat. They do not stand. They have a lap seat. If an elder steps on, usually you would get up and let them sit. It's jammed packed. Like I said, there's roughly 18 seats. One day we counted almost 30 people in one. And one of my first rides, I was on the very edge of a seat, and there's speed bumps everywhere and potholes, and I was like, I'm gonna fall off this seat, and I'm gonna look like a fool. And finally, they added more people in, and I had a lady right up against me, and I was like, oh, thank goodness. Because without her, I would have been on the floor. So, but not only that, if you can imagine, it's not cold like here. It's hot. You're sweaty. Everybody else is sweaty. Also, the smells around you are different.
There might be chickens or goats.
Chicken,
Bring some more people in
goats,
here.
dirt, BO, so, but that's what I rode to work in every single day. Not to mention other places as well. Thank you guys.
There's no like lodge where it's like.
Nope. The only thing that they have to do is that person right there who asks you if you want to get in. He has to be able to close the door. If he can close the door,
You're all set. Weird.
yeah, the door has to be shut. But I mean, there was close to 30 people in there. So I also, on my weekends, explorations. This one was the Chaga tribe. I learned a lot about them. I went to a Chaga museum. This is the Chaga waterfall. You go down this little thing, and there's statues everywhere and different stories to be told, and it's a really fun thing. They had an owl, so I had to put it in there. In some parts, if you see the wood thatch kind of thing, you had to be scrunched straight over and walking down. But that's the waterfall. We went to some caves where they're dug underneath the ground. It was, I forget exactly what it was part of, but it was to hide themselves from people, and we found tortoise. We went to the blacksmiths. They do everything by hand. It was I really enjoyed it. It took them about 20 minutes to finish their piece, which what they finished was something like this. I got one for my dad. And they still make, this is just a very small replica of the actual ones they make for the Maasai tribe. Maasai, they're usually like this tall. They're like as tall as a person. But this is a mini one. And in the Maasai, depending on what you are in the tribe, if you're a hunter, if you're a chief, a farmer, you have a different spearhead. This one was hunter. My dad likes to hunt, so I got him one of those. But it took these guys maybe 20 minutes to make one of these, and it was amazing. And they made a bunch of other things. They made little wooden carvings and stuff like that. They had a lot of different neat stuff. But that was I was over there in June. My birthday is on June 6th, and it was the first weekend I was there. So I spent my birthday with the Children of Tulini, which is a orphanage. They're all these children are taken care of by one Mama Baraji, I think is how you pronounce it, and they were so sweet. Most of them, shy at first, but they told you their names, and they sang and they danced for me, and I learned a new tradition that the one that they're celebrating, if it's your birthday, you feed a piece of cake to every one of your party members by hand, and you feed it to them, which is it was different to say the least. And earlier that day, I celebrated my birthday at work as well, so I had to feed the grown men by hand as well, which was, definitely not in our custom. So we got up and danced, and I couldn't dance too much because I just had ACL surgery, I think, about 4 weeks prior to going. But literally. Mom told me no. I wanted to. Little Violet. They do this shuffling thing with their feet. It's really cool to watch. I would never know how to do it, but I forget what it's called in Swahili, but in translation it was called mohawk. But this safari the day after my birthday. We took a 2-day safari. The first day we were at Lake Minyara, and then the second day we went to the Ngorongoro crater. Giraffes in Swahili is Twiga. We saw a lot of those this day. The first day we saw so many of them. The first day was fairly warm, comfortable. In the safari truck, they pop up the hood so you can stand up and watch, like they show in TV shows and stuff like that. But so it is like that. And Lion King does teach you a lot of Swahili because they call them Pumbas. Warthogs are called Pumbas. Hard to see, but those are hippos.
Hippos, we saw dozens of them.
Yeah. She was right outside the truck. She wasn't very far from us. Or not really sure what it was. Most of the animals were actually very, very close to our truck. I'm sure they're kind of used to trucks now, but it's a blue. These are the places that we stayed in. It's concrete hut things. We were supposed to stay in tents, but we got upgraded, which was wonderful. This is the inside. They were nice and toasty, and I'm really glad we didn't have to sleep in a tent. I was worried about getting eaten by a lion. You never know. We saw so many different types of gazelles and antelopes that I'm not even sure which one was which, but so many of them, and it's just a stripe or two off, or the size of them, or their horns that makes them different. The little crown cranes. And then these were brother Mufasas. Mufasa is male lions. Once again, Lion King, thank you. They were very close to our truck as well. They were, I forget how old they thought they were, but they are brothers. But it was awesome to see them, in live person, right off the truck. Simba. She was even closer. We drove right by her and she didn't care. This picture does not do him justice, but he was huge. Absolutely huge and gorgeous. You can't really see it, but those things are hippos outside of water. And their bellies were so pink. I thought they were getting sunburned. With the elephant, that was the one thing I wanted to see. I love elephants, and we went all day first day, didn't see one, and pretty much all day second day, didn't see one. As we were leaving the crater, we saw Mr. Tembo, that's what they call elephants, off into the distance, and our driver stopped and waited. And he came right next to us, and so I was happy. And then we left right after that, so I guess they saved the best for last. You have to have a selfie.
Good job.
And as we were going up the crater, we saw this group of elephants. So it really made me wait for my elephants. This is the crater. We started off, and then we just did a big loop and came back up. And the rest of these are just trees and terrain that I found fun and cool. There were so many different terrains that we saw that it was unreal. You go in, we see like a desert type thing, and then you go into a forest and then a plain. And it was just crazy how many different terrains you could hit within one day. That tree reminds me of the one that Rafiki's in The Lion King. So, was it worth it? Yes. I mean, I wouldn't be standing up here if it wasn't. I learned so much about their culture and a lot about my own as well. As you go through some of the things that they do, you really start thinking about, oh, we don't do that over there. This is strange. We don't do that. Or this is cool. We should be doing this. So it's really, I loved how much I learned from their culture and their lifestyles. And I also will be taking a lot of what I've learned from here into my future. After this experience, it really opened my eyes that I really want to work with pediatrics. So what I learned that really helped me decide that that's where I want to go in my future career. They kept asking me, or kept telling me more so, well, you probably don't have to do this because you have so much technology. Well, yeah, but I kept telling them, don't lose what you know, and don't lose how you do things without technology. Because if our technology is shut down tomorrow, we wouldn't know what to do. We would be in panic mode. Yes, we have the skills to do it without technology, but we've become so reliant on it that it's. I told them not to lose being able to do things without it. And it also showed me that I can handle difficult situations and do it with a professional bedside manner. Because many times, like with the child that was burned, if you walked into a room and saw that, how would you turn around? Would your jaw drop? Would you start crying? And I had to keep reminding myself, okay, just keep breathing, just keep walking. But I felt that I handled it very well. And so that was one big thing that I learned about myself, was I'm pretty good at that. I can handle seeing difficult things, heavy, startling things, and not overreact or react in such a way that it might offend somebody. And that's about it. You can kind of see there how there's like children everywhere, absolutely everywhere. This group was the group that came to my presentation on athletic training to prove that I actually did do it. I promise. I did. But I'll definitely be taking a lot of the life-changing experiences and knowledge that I gathered from them into my own career. Polly, you was one of the guys that made sure I stayed safe and everything else. He's also a taxi driver, so we got to drive around in his cool blue car quite a bit. And then, Asante Sana. Any questions?
Another question. You said that the physios and what we do is kind of like the same, or some things were the same. Can
Yeah.
you elaborate on that?
They do much of the same, like rehab and everything else. The only big difference between physio and athletic training is we try and prevent injuries. And we work more so with athletes. They work with the entire population. They also work, they do some more gen med kind of things as well. But overall, like when they were doing different exercises, like they were doing cervical traction, they do it just about the same way as us. And different home exercises, they do just like us. So much of it is very similar. They just have more gen med, and we try and prevent injuries. That's really the big difference between the two.
How warm was it when you were there?
It was fairly warm. I don't remember the temperature exactly, but I mean, I was sweating.
Mid-90s.
Yeah. And then if you mean, but I mean, I wore long skirts and tank top with a light shawl on, and I mean, I wasn't too bad. It was warm.
What would it cost like to go there and, spend time there and buy food and how expensive was it?
It was kind of expensive. I think I raised about $5,000 to go on this trip. I'm pretty sure I didn't use all of it, but I used pretty close to it. Probably about $4,500, I would say. If you do like the safari and trips like that, that increases your cost. And the flight over there was the most expensive thing. I think we paid $2,000 or so for it. So cost-wise, it's kind of hard, but it wasn't as hard as you think it is to raise the money. I did a lot of bottles and cans, and I also went to local businesses that know me and other community members and said, hey, look, this is what I'm doing. I'm doing it for school. I'm not doing it for fun. And I explained to them that I'm hoping to get good experiences to bring back here and to further my knowledge, but also be able to make others better. So a lot of them gave me scholarship money, and that's how I raised a lot of my funds to go over.
What was your meals like during a typical day?
A lot of beans and rice. Beans, rice, and passion fruit. Mangoes. Bananas. I don't usually like bananas, but I like theirs. They're smaller and sweeter. I really enjoyed those. I ate a lot of peanut butter and jelly, which is different than over here. But I found passion fruit jelly, and I brought home 4 jars of it. Because I really liked it. And I actually do have 1 jar left.
Wow.
My mom found it. So, but we didn't eat on the street very much, just because it's not too dangerous. But you never know what you're gonna get, and I really didn't feel like being sick. I was only there for 3 weeks, but I did try a few new things. What were those? They're cassava. I don't even know how to explain it. They're good. They're kind of like a potato, and they fry it in something, but I definitely tried a lot of new things. I liked most of it. Some of it I didn't care for, but a lot of the times I think I was eating beans and rice.
And your water, filtered? But how do-
We bought bottled water.
Oh.
Yeah, we didn't drink the water. We didn't even use it for our toothbrush. So we definitely took.
The locals drink the water out of the tap,
I'm sure.
but for us, Wazungu bellies, we drink bottled water.
And I guess I'm wondering about outhouses or toilets or how to get the squat.
Some of them are. Some of them, there is no toilet. You have to squat. But in the apartment that we stayed in, we had running water. We had a hot shower, and and we had a regular toilet like we would have here. But yeah, some places you would go and there's not much there. You have to squat. But
Doctors have to do that, right?
well, I'm an outdoorsy person, so I'm used to that anyway. So, but I can see how it might be difficult for other women, and even males, to see that and be able to function.
Now, there must have been some taboos, like, I don't know, my daughter lives in Madagascar and I hear about all these taboos, like they don't hug unless you really know somebody, you can't point your finger. There's like a bunch of these things that are very different than what we know. I mean, we point our finger all the
There
time.
were definitely some that, some stuff that you just don't really do. One of the biggest things is, especially as females, to be covered. They don't show a lot of skin, and we typically do here in America. So, but they wear, long skirts and shawls, and are covered. And then taking pictures is probably a big one. Some people are fine with it. I had people coming up to me and asking to have a picture taken with me. But some, it's a little more difficult because they believe, some of them believe that if you take a picture of them, you're stealing their soul from them, kind of thing. So that's why a lot of the pictures that for my clinical rotations aren't actual. It wasn't the actual child that I saw, and it wasn't on CCBRT. I showed pictures of children with some of the disabilities. I didn't take any pictures. One, I was working, so I didn't find it appropriate to take pictures while I'm working. But also, I wasn't sure how they would feel about it. When we went on our home visits, Neo told us right at the very beginning, take all the pictures you want. We'll explain to them that, this is for educational purposes, and they didn't have a problem with it. So that's probably one of the biggest things that I knew beforehand going, because the family friends that had gone before had told me, but that's probably the biggest one that I know of.
I'm assuming that you were one of the only white people that was, what was the ratio of?
Oh yeah, I was the only one. The first week I was there, tourist season hadn't came upon them yet. Where we were, there was a lot of tourists. But my first week there, I was the only white person there. Shirley fits in, because her clothes and they know her and everything else. But I was the newbie on the street. But
What was that like for you to come from this
Well,
area and go there?
you definitely know how people, how others feel now. Because when I walked in there, I was like, oh boy. I was like, how do they, I didn't really mind it because it doesn't bother me. I don't really see that kind of stuff. But all I could think about was, how are they judging me? Like, are they saying, wow, she's pasty? Because early in the summer I hadn't tanned yet, so, but, I just, but it was definitely an eye-opener. now I know how other people may feel when they're walking down the street and they're not the same as everybody that they're looking at. But it's definitely something to get used to. The second and third week, tourists started coming in, so you saw more, but you would never see them on the Dala Dala. That was local transportation. If tourists were going anywhere, they would take a taxi and go by themselves and whatnot. But when we went to the market, we did see some, but most of the time I just saw I was the only white person.
So you said it was a life-changing experience, and I can certainly see a lot of that, but have you articulated for yourself really how it was life-changing?
Well, I have to keep reminding myself that I've been there. It's hit me that I've been there, but there's still so much that I still have to soak in, even after however many months it's been. But I definitely have been seeing like different things that I've been doing in my own life that is just different, and most of it is because of the impact that trip has put on me.
So would you recommend for all of your fellow students to go
Yeah.
on a trip like this?
Yeah, definitely. There's good experiences right here in the United States. Truly is, but nothing like this. To go and be the only white person, to go and not be surrounded by technology, to walk into a hospital room and have 12 beds lined up, no privacy curtains, nothing. Like, how do you deal with all of that when we're so used to make sure, their privacy rights and all this stuff? So it's not something you can get here. And I definitely recommend it. And I'm trying to get some of the AT students to go. One PE major, I think, is looking to go, and he keeps asking me about questions and stuff, so I'm hoping he'll go.
How was it like getting a visa and like taking malaria pill and how was like the pre-trip stuff? Like how hard was that for you to like organize and everything?
Not too bad. Definitely need a passport, and that takes a while. So to make sure you're planning ahead, but the visa, I did have to wait in line, and my work permit, I had to wait in line at the Kilimanjaro airport, which took some time, but
So you did that part like when you were over there already?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, and if you're already prepping yourself that it's probably gonna be about an hour, then it's okay.
Oh, okay.
Just prepare yourself that you might have to wait a while, but it's not that bad. And malaria pills, they aren't too bad, but they don't tell you one of the side effects is nightmares.
Okay, yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah.
What about like, shots and, just was it a medical like process, shots and
No,
stuff to do with that sort of thing?
A lot of the shots that you need to go to Tanzania, you already have because you have to have them to be enrolled in school.
Oh, okay.
They don't push yellow fever or anything like that on you, simply because it's not huge there.
Okay.
But most of my shots were already done because I have to have them for my AT and because you have to run from school.
Right.
But other than that, other than the malaria, I didn't have to have anything else.
Thank you.
On behalf of the committee and all of us in athletic training, we're very proud of all the nice things you did, and here's a nice little gift.
Also, I have some stuff that I got over in Africa. there's photo albums, so if there's like pictures that you liked, most likely they're in there. Yeah. Painting I got. My awesome bag. So.
Tell them why you picked this particular one.
Oh yeah. So usually, as you can probably tell, I love blue, and I wanted a blue one, but I picked this one because I wasn't able to see any rhinos on my safari. It was too windy for them to be out. So I decided I wanted some sort of artwork. One, I like art, and I wanted some artwork that had rhinos in it because I didn't get to see them, so I'd take them. But yeah, there's more pictures. They're about the same as the ones up there, but if you wanted to see any more, feel free. I've got some African money. Yeah. So, feel free.